Hi, my name is Chelsea, and this is Seasons of Her. This is my first podcast episode. I've never done anything like this before. I'm learning as I go. I'm learning how to use Canva and how to do a little bit of editing. For the most part, I'm sitting in my office. I have a backdrop, my phone, a ring light, and a microphone that my brother brought me. I want to share with you through storytelling. A lot of women in my life, including myself, we've overcome so many things in our lives that we don't even talk about. I have women reach out to me all the time just to vent, just to share with me things that they're going through, that they don't even feel comfortable talking to their husbands about, their moms, their sisters. Over time, I've found a family of women who we find solace in each other. We found a safe place to be able to share our struggles. It's become very apparent to me that there are a lot of women out here that are doing everything for everybody and leaving themselves on the back burner. I recognize myself in a lot of these women based on the varying things that they're dealing with, whether it's a new baby, which I can resonate with, if it's workout habit, starting a new diet, dealing with a terminally ill child, just a really demanding job. I can resonate with a lot of those things. Even divorce is something that a lot of people don't really talk about. It can be very taxing on you as someone who's trying to just keep it together for everybody. We as moms are nurturers. We want to make sure that everybody's happy. We want to make sure that everybody is just having the best time. Unfortunately, we carry a very heavy and silent load that a lot of people don't even think about. There are stories that I can share with you about moments in my life where I just decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to outgrow this version of me. I want to make a change. It was very hard. I'll say for myself, it all started with a SeaWorld trip where I was over 430 pounds. I had to pay for someone to go with me just so that my 4-year-old twins would have someone they could ride a ride with. I spent the entire day with my camera, videotaping my kids having the time of their life. I was just observing it. I had to make a decision and say that I never want to be in this position again. I want to always be in the seat right next to them, holding their hands, laughing and experiencing it the way that they are, because that's important to me. I did everything that I could to lose weight. The only thing that I told myself was that I wanted to ride a roller coaster with my kids. I went to therapy. I worked with a nutritionist. I did get surgery. I started weightlifting. Now my lifestyle is completely different. Moving my body is a non-negotiable. Eating healthy foods is something that I get to show my girls through my action, not just some pyramid that they learned at school. I've made a lot of change in my life. It's benefited me in a lot of ways. Reclaiming a little bit of my time has just allowed me to pour into myself and apply boundaries to my peace and my sanity, so that I can show up for my girls as a better version of myself. I have girlfriends right now that tell me how they get up in the morning, they do everything for their families. They want to make sure they feel loved. They lay out their clothes, they make sure all the laundry's done, breakfast is ready, lunches are packed, dogs are taken care of, kids are off to school, medicine is handed out. And here goes mom walking out the door, completely exhausted. She might have been able to do a 5-minute shower. Her makeup probably isn't done as good as it could have been. She didn't eat breakfast. She barely grabbed a banana and a water to get out the door. She's expected to go show up for her team at work. Seasons of Her is about going from survival mode and arriving in your actual life. I remember the seasons of my life based on the responsibilities that I had, by the weight that I carried. Prior to 2019, I remember being a mom. I remember having to take care of babies all day long. I remember being a boss. I remember managing adults' emotions at work. I remember hitting quotas. I remember receiving awards. I remember going on vacations every once in a while. Even when I go back and look at my camera roll during that time, there was a lot of celebrating what I did. There wasn't a lot of celebrating who I was. And there wasn't a lot of celebrating or capturing moments of us actually thriving and living. It was get up, get the kids to school, get them bathed, go to work, come home, clean up, cook dinner, do it all over again. Now my days look so different. And people always ask me, women ask me specifically, how do you glow? Why do you always seem so rested? I don't know how you do it. How do you not let that job get to you? I feel like there's so many people that are asking me those questions that clearly there's something that some people out there, they don't know how to get to where I am. And I'm not saying that my life is perfect. I'm not saying that I'm some prodigy or I have the secret code to life's happiness. There's a lot of things that I've learned as an adult that I just quite simply didn't really learn as a child because my parents were in survival mode too. The only thing I ever wanted for my kids is for them to have a childhood where they got to be kids. They weren't surviving all the time. I also realized that this is the only life that I'm ever going to live. If I'm just surviving this life, then what was it all for? I feel like I deserve a good life too, just as much as them. The more I started taking care of myself, the more I started to ask myself, where else am I not so happy? It kind of all came down to reclaiming what was mine because I am the main character in my life. If I were to buy a ticket at a movie theater to watch a movie titled Chelsea Thompson, would I enjoy the movie that I'm watching if I am the only thing that I see in the middle of the screen? Everything else is just my life happening around me. Would I enjoy that movie? I made a conscious decision to say, I want to. Maybe I don't like it up until this point. I want to. I have an option every single day when I wake up to choose. Am I going to choose, when provided the opportunity, am I going to choose options that bring me happiness, or am I going to bring me options that make me feel like I'm happy, to be perceived as happy based on societal expectations? Do I have a nice car? Do I have a nice purse? Do I look like I'm in a good relationship? Does my marriage look healthy online? I had to start asking myself, do I care if it looks good or do I care if it feels good? And that's whenever you really start having to face yourself of, what am I doing to myself? What choices am I making? To go back full circle, because none of this is scripted, I hope you understand that my brain allows me to just ramble, getting the point across. I want to share with you stories of mine, stories from my girlfriends and amazing women that I meet just in my day-to-day life. Invite them to come have a conversation with me and share the struggles that they've been through, and the choices that they had, the decisions they made, the turmoil and the tension that happened that they had to move through in order to become who they are today. I'm telling you, I have some really phenomenal women as friends. Women who have overcome addiction, domestic violence, terminal illness, toxic work environments, just anything you can think of, being taken advantage of as a child. I have some friends who've been through some things. You look at them and you would never know it because they had an opportunity to get better and recognize the situation as a lesson and turn it into a blessing, something that they learned from and something that they decided they were never going to experience ever again. As far as Seasons of Her, what I hope to offer you in each of my episodes is a realization that I have about the life that I live now, how I can look at certain things like my dirty kitchen floor and tell myself, man, I remember whenever I used to have to mop this every single day because I used to tell myself that if I can't give my kids a complete and happy home with both of their parents, I at least need to make sure that their home is spotless and safe. I used to stress myself out about the floor. No one else told me to do that. I tried to convince myself of that. For a season of my life, I consumed myself with trying to make sure that my kids had that. Now I look at my kitchen floor and I go, my kitchen floor is swept. It could be mopped. My kids are happy and healthy. We love cooking in our kitchen. I'm okay with not mopping the floor every single day because the 20 minutes that I could have spent mopping the floor, I actually spent it on the living room floor with my kids playing a card game or doing yoga or going on a walk with them. To me, that means so much more to me than having a clean kitchen floor, because truthfully, having a healthy and happy relationship with their mom is going to do far more for them in life than a kitchen floor being clean ever would. Those are the types of stories that I would love to share with you. Then go back and talk to you about, why did I convince myself of that? Where did I get that idea from? How did I teach myself that it's okay to not identify with the thought? How did I convince myself every day afterwards that I don't have to believe everything that my brain tries to tell me? What does my heart want me to do? What options do I have? How am I going to commit to myself every day whenever my brain tries to talk me out of change? My heart is so trying to convince me otherwise. It knows that I can do better. I can be in a better position. It's just overriding everything you've been programmed to believe. My hope for you is that that information alone, just hearing those things, maybe you can see yourself in some of the stories that I have. I'm going to invite girlfriends over to talk to me about moments they've had and what they did and why it made them feel the way that it did, what benefits came from it, what were the hardest parts, what do you wish you would have done differently? Because I truthfully believe that there's not a lot of us out there that take the time to sit down and ask ourselves those questions, let alone have those meaningful conversations with others so that we can reflect on our own patterns and change them when necessary. The other things that I want to do is I wrote a book. I wrote a book about my divorce experience and the healing that I had to go through, the internal thoughts of everything that happens once your whole life that you thought you wanted comes crumbling down. You have to grieve the relationship that you had, the person you thought you were married to, the future you thought you were building. At the same time, carry the emotional weight of helping your children grieve losing a parent who's still alive that doesn't really come around anymore. The weight that I had to carry, the way that God carried me through it, because I continued to seek Him in the process and ask Him for guidance on how to find the most peace in this situation. There's a book. I'm trying to figure out what does it take to publish that book. I'm wrapping up this divorce. I've got big ideas for journals. This podcast is going to continue. Eventually, I would love to be able to offer coaching and to build a community of women where we support each other through these seasons of our lives. We offer each other that net, that safety net of reminding each other that I know it's hard, you're doing a good job. Honestly, even if you're not making ginormous changes or choosing something different, you're just surviving right in this season of your life. You need that group of women to remind you that you're doing a good job because you're doing everything that you can. I hope that today's episode lays a groundwork or a framework for you to identify with. I genuinely hope that these messages that I am so vulnerable enough to share with you help. And I hope that you find the time or the willpower or the nudge from the universe to share it with a woman that you think would enjoy it, or a woman that you think has gone through something, who truly deserves some recognition on how hard it is to change your circumstances and stick with it. Just to remind you and to give you a little bit of encouragement as I end this video, nobody's perfect. A lot of this is going to talk about survival to arrival, showing up authentically in your life and living the fullest life that you can. I will say that it's a constant battle. One of the things that I learned about through my therapy with my weight loss is that a lot of your issues with eating can come down to food addiction or just catering to your emotions with food. You're at a high risk for transfer addiction. Whenever you try to address something that you are so used to, that same obsession or addiction can get transferred to something else. A lot of times whenever you're making healthy changes, you might transition that over-functioning that you're currently trying to get out of onto something else. You got to work through that. Sometimes you're in a season of your life that you're really enjoying. Somebody comes over and kicks over your sandcastle. You fall into old habits. I know I'm guilty of that. The holidays are really difficult for me just because there's so much good food and we're celebrating so much. I tend to fall into old habits of just getting lazy and eating whatever I want and not really planning my meals or getting out as much. It's also the winter time. I hate being cold. So my workouts are very sporadic and inconsistent. It's a very steep downward spiral into seasonal depression if you don't get a hold of it. Just know that you have to give yourself grace and compassion whenever you're battling life, whenever you're just living. Your kids, it's their first time living. To leave you with this is your first time living too. Give yourself and them compassion and grace. Understand that we're all just figuring it out. Nobody's perfect. We've all just kind of learned what we can and what we've been told up until this point. We have options to learn and do better. That's all I'll ever want for you. Talk to you soon. Bye.